So I did it. I had my gastric bypass surgery. That was January 22nd, 2026. We are 2 weeks post op, and I wanted to explain my experience getting the surgery. So I am going to start with right from arriving at the hospital. So my surgery was scheduled for 8 a.m. I had to be at the hospital for 6 a.m. So I arrived probably at like 5:50 a.m. Stayed at the hotel the night before, so we were only 15 minutes away. And got to the hospital. We had to go to the registration area. It's where I got your hospital wristband. Had to go up to the 8th floor. When I got up there, I had to wait till they called my name, about 10 minutes at most. They called me. I went back to like the pre-surgery area where there's like a bunch of beds and like the curtains in between all the beds. I changed into the little hospital gown, put the little cap on, put the little booties on my feet, got in the bed, and then they put this really weird, I don't even know what it was called. They called it the bear. It was this blanket that they put hot air into it. So I had to lay down this, and they blew all this hot air to warm up your body. I don't know why, but that's what they did. And up until this point, I was pretty calm with everything. I was really calm. My boyfriend was kind of surprised about how calm I was. Right up until knowing I was just about to be rolled away, have your IV and everything there, and then I just started crying. And I made this. I can't remember what they're called. The guy that puts you to sleep. I made him promise that I wouldn't wake up mid surgery. And I'm sorry. I got really scared. They rolled me back there. And at that point, I thought I might die, which was really scary. And they rolled me all the way back there. I don't know if it was a nurse or, sorry, thanks, Chewy. I know, thank you. Thank you. One of the nurses, or I don't know what she was trying to like distract me by talking about work and things like that. And we get in there, they roll my bed in. And at that point, all I could think was run away. Don't do it, run away. And I almost did. I almost got up to run away. But I didn't, because I didn't want to be a crazy person running through the hospital. So they told me to get off that bed, and I had to walk over. It's this huge, enormous room and a bunch of people. And in the middle was like this bed, and then it had these lights above it that just kind of reminded me of those lights that they use in those movies when they're about to like cut open an alien. So they had those, and then I had to get on this little, really thin bed. And I was like, whoa, that's a tiny bed. And then the worker goes, yeah, it can hold up to 600 pounds, which I was a little insulted about because I am not 600 pounds, but whatever. So I got on the bed. They told me that the sleepy stuff was going to go through with the IV. But then they put this like mask on me, and they told me to breathe. And it felt like trying to breathe with a pillow over your face. It was just so uncomfortable. And then I don't remember anything from that. The next thing I remember is I'm waking up while they're rolling my bed, and it's kind of fuzzy, but I can make out like this one nurse kind of standing right there while she's rolling. And I felt so nauseous. And I just kept telling her, I feel nauseous. But I had cotton mouth, so it came out, I'm just nauseous. I'm so nauseous. I said, my mouth is like cotton. My mouth is like cotton. And then she tried to like swab my mouth with this like little stick with a little sponge on it. I'm like, it still feels like cotton. It still feels like cotton. And it was horrible. And then we get to the room that's going to be my room. And they're like, okay, you got to get off the bed and walk. And I was like, I have to walk? Just threw me off. I couldn't believe I had to walk. So I get up, and they kind of are around me, and I felt like my legs were jello. And I'm trying to walk, and I probably look like, a baby trying to learn how to walk. And I finally get over into my bed. I've got like all these IVs and everything. And I get in the bed, and then I realize I have like an oxygen mask. If you've never had one, it is awful. It's stuck in your nose, so it feels like there's like two little crayons in your nose, and it's just so annoying. So I had that on. I am so hot. Like I feel like I've been sitting out in the sun on the hottest day of the year, just baking. I've got cotton mouth. I feel like I'm going to throw up. The nurse tells me they've given me as much medication for nausea as they possibly can. I get in the bed, and I have the leg things. I think it's to prevent you from getting blood clots. They're like these wraps around your leg, hooked up to this little machine. It feels like a slight massage on your leg. And then they prop me up with some pillows and things like that. And it's a shared room, so it's me. There's another person in the other bed with one curtain between us. And while I'm in there, I'm just kind of getting into my bed. These workers for the hospital, like maintenance people, come in. They're checking the lights. I don't know what they were doing. They said they'd have to fix the lights later. I didn't really realize what's going on. Found out later that the one big main light worked, but like the individual lights didn't work. That was annoying. And then I'm in the bed, and I'm kind of in and out of sleepiness, And then my boyfriend finally gets to come into the room, and he's trying to talk to me, but I'm just like, I can't talk, because when I talk, the nausea gets worse, and the cotton mouth was awful. They finally they gave me some water, and they gave me some like ice cubes to kind of help with that. It took a really long time for cotton mouth to go away. And you can't, because my stomach is so small, I can't drink that much. I can't, chew too much ice cubes, because I have to be mindful of how small my stomach is at this point. And then I'm dealing with the pain from the surgery. I did not sleep well. I only had to stay in the hospital one night. I didn't sleep well at all. And then everything I read was like, it told you that you had to get up and walk as soon as possible, right? And I kept asking my nurse when I should be walking. She's like, "Oh, you just wait. You're okay right now. You're okay right now." So I probably didn't get up to walk. My timeline's really hard because, after surgery, everything's kind of fuzzy. But, and I was like, shortly after I get in my room, they do the food delivery. So the person beside me gets regular, normal food. And they brought me a yogurt, a juice, and something else. I can't remember what the third thing was. I remember just staring at it, because I had 2 weeks of just shakes. I'm looking at it going, I can really have yogurt right now? Like, that's kind of cool. So I finally got a chance. I'm eating my yogurt, but I'm trying to take tiny bites because I don't want to overdo it. But it just tastes like the best thing in the world. And then the juice you have to dilute with water as well, which was really, it tasted amazing after being on those 2 weeks of shakes. But it also scared me that I shouldn't be having that. I literally took a couple bites. If you looked at it, probably looked like I didn't eat any of it. Got full so quickly because of all the swelling and everything. And the person in my room was like a 70 something year old man with a coloscopy bag. If you don't know what that is, that means they don't use the toilet. There's like a bag that comes out their side where their bowel movements go in. And my boyfriend, when he said he got off the elevator, so my room was nowhere near the elevator. You had to do quite a distance of walking. He said when he got off the elevator, he could smell the smell. And the closer he got to my room, the smell got worse. And then he realized it was my room. And this is the man that I had to share the room with. And a couple times, so I was there for one night. He pooped that thing 4 or 5 times. And a couple times the nurses threw that thing in the garbage in my room. I had to ask them to get it out of there because it stunk so bad. So part of me wasn't sure if my nausea was from my surgery and trying to eat, or the smell of that. And he was constantly arguing with the nurses. He constantly wanted the light off, which, because there's only that one light, which would mean I also didn't get light. No TV in the room, which honestly didn't matter because I was kind of in and out of it. So it didn't matter because I wasn't really in there. And I asked for ice packs. I had ice pack on my head and another ice pack that I could put on my neck just to help me cool down. I didn't want the socks on. I had the sheet on. I didn't want the blanket, but I wanted the sheet just because you're just in the gown. I didn't want, anything to happen there. And yeah, I wish I had a private room, but in Ontario, you don't really get that choice, even if you have coverage. And then anytime I had to go to the bathroom, I had to ring the bell. Then they'd say, "What do you need?" And then I'd say, "I have to go to the bathroom." Then I had to wait for someone to come. And anytime I rang my bell, the guy in my room also rang his bell, like he was jealous. I don't know. It was very annoying. And then the nurses would come, and then there was like a bathroom in the room, so they'd help me like disconnect from the leg things, and then I'd have to cart my IV thing to the bathroom area, and there's kind of like a curtain, there's kind of a door there. And a couple times I found the nurses were really patient, but the PSWs, personal support workers, which is what we call them in Ontario, I think in the US they're called nursing aides. I'm not sure. If you know, put that down in the comments. I find they were very impatient. And if you've ever had surgery, and I didn't know this until I had this surgery, but it takes a long time for everything inside you to wake up. So even though I felt like I had to go to the bathroom, it took a long time for it to actually to go pee. It took a very long time. So I'd be sitting there for sometimes like half an hour. One time it was like an hour just to get out a little bit of pee. And they'd come to be like, are you ready? Are you done? And you'd be sitting there for like 2 minutes thinking like, so they're not even realizing like how long this stuff can take. And I said, you can go and I'll just, come back in a bit. It's going to be a while. And then there's like this red thing that you had to pull, like an emergency thing. So I'd tell them to go, and then I'd pull the thing, and then they'd come back and help me. But in the middle of the night, I had to ask the nurse. I said, "Can you please take my IV out because I have to pee constantly, and it's very annoying to constantly have to call someone to go to the bathroom." So she said, "Yeah, your fluids are good. We'll take your IV out." So she took out my IV, which was so nice to not have that machine hooked up to me. Then I still had like the heart monitor kind of machine and the oxygen machine on me. I was only in there a couple hours before they did remove my oxygen thing. They said, "You're breathing fine." So they removed that, which was really nice. So like halfway through the night, I only had the one machine, which was rating my heart rate and all that. That machine broke also in the middle of the night. It kept making beeping noises because it wasn't working. So they had to mess with it, and then it got fixed, and then it started working. But also in the middle of the night, one of the PSWs was helping me to the bathroom, so she was unhooking my leg things. She dropped the machine that does the air. So when we came back to the thing, it wasn't working anymore. It didn't work. So then she just kind of left it. And when the nurse came back, I explained what happened. And then she tried the machine, and then she talked to another nurse. And they're like, "We only have a couple of these machines. This one's broken. This one's not working." And they're like, "Well, she's doing okay. She's doing lots of walking. So we'll just take her leg things off." So they took that off, and then I made sure I was walking so I wouldn't get the blood clots. My boyfriend took me for some walks around the thing, and he had to leave, for dinner and stuff like that. So he left and came back. And the one time when he came back, I felt horrible because I was out walking my lap with one of the PSWs, and I got super sick. And I had one of those little kidney pants. I made sure I brought one. They didn't even suggest bringing something, but I just know me, and I would prefer having that safety net of if I get sick, I want something to throw up on. I don't want to throw up on the floor. So I brought that little tiny kidney dish. And then when I was like halfway through my walk, I just started throwing up. Too much info, I'm sorry. Started throwing up. He was just getting off the elevator. So what he sees is just me throwing up in the hallway, and he comes over, and too much information, just so you know, it's just chunks of blood. And at that point I was terrified. And the nurse told me, she's like, "No, it's okay." She goes, "Remember, your stomach's just healing. Like it was, chopped up. If there's going to be blood." I'm like, okay. So they got me back in my room. And in the middle of the night, I was throwing up again with the blood chunks. And I was kind of like really worried that something was going on. And they're like, "No, it's okay." The doctor who did my surgery, which is crazy that he was even still there, he came and visited me in the night, and he was talking to me, and I told him about it. He's like, okay, what? He said, was it throw up, or was it just kind of a little bit? And then I just it was a little bit, but to me it was still terrifying. But he says, okay, it was just a little bit, you're okay. I got off the major pain medicine probably within 12 hours of my surgery, and the major it's like, I don't know what it's called, but it was like, the gravel's here, whatever this medicine is, like up here. And to be able to go home, you had to be off both of those. So by the end, I was just on Tylenol and regular gravel to help maintain how I was feeling. And in the morning, there's like a bunch of people who did my surgery. So one of the other surgeon guys came, and he came to talk to me and answered all my questions and looked at my, what do you call it? Incisions? I don't know. And he said everything looked good. And he goes, do you want to go home? I said, yes, I want to go home. So he approved me to go home. They gave me all the paperwork for the medication I had to get. So I'm on this medication that is to prevent ulcers for the next 6 months. Then they also gave me a prescription for pain in case Tylenol didn't help, and one for like the one above gravel, but like the less, whatever that pill was. I got those filled when we came back in town. I didn't end up using the painkiller or the gravel, the intense gravel. I just regular gravel and regular Tylenol, but I had it just in case. And while I was in the hospital, also I had to drink 15 milliliters of water like every 5 minutes, and I had to mark it on a piece of paper. So I did that throughout the whole thing. And then, so I was finally discharged. The nurse told my husband or my boyfriend to go to the front, bring up the car, and that the person would bring me down in a wheelchair. So I get in a wheelchair, they park me kind of in the hallway, and I'm waiting. At this point, it's like I am kind of in the front of the desk area where I don't know what those people's jobs are. They weren't nurses or PSWs, but I think there are people like when you ring the bell, they answer and then send the nurse. And I'm like, so is the person coming to get me, or? And I waited there for half an hour. Remember, my boyfriend is downstairs waiting for me in where like you can't park. You have to, it's like the pickup area. So there was a nursing student there that was helping the nurse that I was with, and my nurses and the nursing student was amazing. So she takes me down, but I felt horrible because he's like this tiny stick little girl who's very like shy. So we get in the elevator, and then like 5 other people try to get in the elevator, and it was like incredibly crowded. And it felt really weird to me because I felt like everyone was like looking down on me because I was in a wheelchair. And that felt really weird. I've never had that experience before. But anyway, we finally get out of there. And then she rolls up to where the doors are, and I get up and I just start, she's like, do you need help? I'm like, no, I'm good. I just start trucking it to my van because I didn't want it out of there. And I get into the van, my boyfriend gets out and he helps me into the van. And he had already brought all of my stuff back into the van, and we go to leave. And it's a snowstorm blizzard. So we have to drive an hour and a half home in this blizzard. I have to sit up the whole time. And it was terrible because you need to lay down. But so I had to sit up for an hour and a half. Had ice cubes and I had water. I had gravel and tile in my system, but I was like clenching the whole time because it was just like a snowstorm, big city, and we're just trying to get home. Finally, we get home, and I'm just exhausted and tired. And then, so I spent basically the 2 weeks for recovery on the couch. I finally can sit up, which is nice. But I can tell you, while I was in the hospital, I was regretting getting the surgery because everything hurt and nothing felt normal. And I didn't like feeling weak. When I got home, I hated it because I had to lay on the couch. I couldn't do anything. I felt horrible. And trying to drink water was like the hardest thing ever. So just trying to take sips of water and it would hurt. Sips of water and it hurt. And then they're like, you need to be getting like 60 grams of protein in. I'm like, how do you get 60 grams of protein in on a liquid diet? So I was trying to drink, my protein and stuff. It was too hard on my stomach. I really couldn't do it. So I was trying to drink and stuff, and it was just really, really, really hard. Trying to sleep was hard. Day 2 after I had my gastric bypass. I'm home, which is nice. I got to slept on the couch. It's the most comfortable spot I could. Everything's sore. I'm tired. Yeah. So it was really, really difficult. The turning point for me was day 12. Day 12, I felt good. I didn't regret, the surgery anymore. I definitely started feeling better. And like it was really hard. But day 12, I finally started feeling better. Day 14, I definitely still feel better. And I was able to get my vitamins and things like that, able to get the liquids in, moving to a pureed diet, which will be fun because when you think about it, I had the 2 weeks of before surgery, I had those gross shakes that I had to do. And then I've been on 2 weeks of liquid, which was like, I'll explain that in a minute, but the liquid diet. So moving to puree is awesome. But it was really rough. It was not, when people think weight loss surgery is the easy way out, it is very hard. The surgery is very hard. And I do live in Ontario. So when you have a BMI over 40 or a BMI of 35 with other health risks, it is covered for you to get the weight loss surgery through OHIP, which is Ontario Health Insurance Plan. So it's completely free for us. And then you have to go to your doctor and get a referral. And then the bariatric clinic will call you, and then you have a bunch of appointments that you have to go to before you get to the actual surgery. So it has been a long process, but I'm glad I finally feel better and I don't feel as sick as it did. And I used to have like this big, huge bruise on my arm from where the IV was, and that's finally going away. So yeah, that was my hospital experience and being at home experience, which is pretty rough. So please like and subscribe to this video. And if you enjoyed this one, you'll probably enjoy this one. I'll put it up here or there. And hope to see you soon.